We're live, second half of the transmission now beginning. We've reached the waypoint, the point of no return. Thank you for joining us. We're simulcasting the second half of the radio transmission at prisonplanet.tv. Again, thank you for joining us. We're taking your phone calls in the rest of this hour and interspersing it with important news. For those who just joined us, I've thrown the question out to listeners. The oil spill's serious. They're covering up the respiratory problems all over the Gulf. People getting sick. They're not letting BP hired contractors wear respirators because that would alert the public to something happening. Just like they told firefighters and police the first few days of 9/11, don't wear a mask. Then later said there was no problem. You don't get any money. This is damage control. The BP CEO, Hayward, has been relieved of management duties. We're going to be covering that. But also, what is this distracting us from? Iran says they're going to try to run the Israeli blockade into Gaza. That's confirmed. Israel says they've got nuke subs off the coast of Iran. The U.S. and the UN are on the verge of passing sanctions to stop all ships in the different waterways, Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf and other areas, going in and out of Iran. An act of war. They say, the Iranians say, they're going to start seizing U.S. ships. They're going to start grabbing other ships. This is going to escalate quickly. So while the media is openly admitting that war could be imminent with Iran, that's back burner. That's back in the newspaper, even though the war is going to the front burner. So what else is this oil spill distracting us from? And, of course, now it's coming out that the Coast Guard for 5 weeks straight won't let anybody go in and even drain oil out of estuaries because the federal government is God. Just like Katrina, for 5+ days, no food, no water, stacked up in front of the sports dome. On the news for 3 days, people saying, can I have food and water? And troops saying no. It was a laboratory experiment to see what would happen. They wouldn't let people walk out on the highway that was high and dry. Police were ordered to shoot people. They were. Those cops were thrown in prison. That's like the White House ordering torture, and then a whole bunch of people going to prison who did torture, and then Bush comes out 2 weeks ago and says, I did order torture, I'd order it again, and he doesn't get in trouble, but then they send people that followed his orders to prison. Like the cops were ordered, use lethal force, threat continuum, do not let people walk out on these highways, the feds say. The cops mow a bunch of people down and were finally sent to prison last year for it. And they deserve to go to prison. You don't follow any legal order. I mean, if the government told you to run around and kill, little kids, would you do it? I mean, if the government, Joseph Mengele had a German military attachment to his medical facility, and sometimes he wrote in his diary he would give little kids chocolate, ride out in his Mercedes with them, and have troops then shoot them in the head just for enjoyment in the morning. I said, I think with my coffee I'll kill some children. That's what I'm into. Should those German soldiers get in trouble for shooting the kids in the head? Yes. It's the same thing here. I don't want to hear Bobby Jindal complaining that the feds won't let him clean it up. Go out there and have a, go out there and say, as the governor, we're going to clean this up on our seashore. Now, this is state property right here. Coast Guard, get out of here. Or have the states have a convention. Or have the states speak up and say no. I mean, look, that's what the 10th Amendment's all about. The federal government's out of control. It's telling us who we can hire, who we can fire, what we can do, how big our house can be, how small it can be, when we can build a barn, when we can tear a barn down, when we can plant crops, when we can't, how many chickens we can have, everything. It is not the government's job, much less a remote federal government bought and paid for by foreign interests, stealing money as fast as they can on every front. All right, when I come back, Randy, Rita, Robert, Sam, Ronnie, your calls directly, straight ahead on the other side of this break. Infowars.com and prisonplanet.tv are the websites. You can tell I'm born again hard, fired up for liberty. And we've got an hour and 55 minutes straight ahead, and a former MI6 British intelligence officer joining us. Stay with us.
Alex Jones.
Well, the mayor of Memphis admits that the Napa Superhighway is real and will run through Memphis, Tennessee. That's coming up. The Icelandic parliament has passed a law to make Iceland an internet freedom zone against the encroaching tyranny against the internet worldwide. That's certainly exciting. That is all coming up. The CEO of BP has stepped down. Tony Hayward is being demoted. According to Britain Sky News, BP Managing Director Bob Dudley will take over the day-to-day oversight of the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, while BP's chairman, Carl Henrik Savenberg, the small people comment fellow, will assume major PR duties. Yes, that's a good idea. You little scum, little people. No respirators for you cleaning up oil. Then we have to admit it killing you. No! You'll be just like firefighters in New York. We will call you ambulance chasers when you die of lung cancer. Ha 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 ha. When you die of asthma in 1 week. Little people. All right, let's go to your phone calls as promised. Randy in Louisiana, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex, how you doing today? It's a pleasure to be on your show and talk to you.
It's a pleasure to be part of the little people.
Yeah, we're down here in catastrophic oil spill land. But I had a couple of things to say. I totally agree that it looks like they're setting up some kind of scenario like they had on 9/11 with the breathing issues around ground zero. Everybody should be wearing a respirator down here on these beaches, cleaning this up. I wouldn't worry about the PR aspect of it in the media because I want to ask these people, what's more important, your life or, playing the PR game?
No, but BP's saying you will be fired if you do it, because for 5 weeks they've had people cleaning stuff up without them. People are getting sick, so they can't go back and say they were wrong. They have to say, no, you are fired if you wear breathing apparatus, which makes them more liable, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing of it is, when you're offshore, I'm old offshore hand, okay? I worked drilling rigs. I was, roughneck. I worked derricks. I drilled, and also into the production end of it. What these people should be asking, whenever you got to clean out a separator offshore and you have to enter this vessel, you got to dress up in biohazard gear. You got to sniff it out, get all the gas out of it to clean the sand and everything out, and you have to wear respirators for that. And you don't even have active oil in there. But my brothers and my cousins are out working this spill right now, and they're telling me it's as thick as peanut butter on top of the water. And so you have, like you said, the chemicals benzene. It could be H2S. Could be a number of things. And you do not want to breathe this stuff because, yeah, they could be threatening to fire people. But I tell you what, if I'd be down there on that beach and they threatened to fire me because I want to wear a respirator, believe me, I'd be contacting a lawyer and there'd be some lawsuits coming.
Well, Wired Magazine, AP, Reuters, and others are reporting BP is ordering mainly the minimum wage poor people that are out there on the beach scooping up the oil-soaked seaweed because it is the Sargasso season. And I look at them on the news. They're not wearing respirators. In most of the videos I see, they're not even wearing a mask, to stop any of it. But I guess a paper mask wouldn't stop the gas to begin with. And there's also all these heavy metals that are in oil. I mean, what is it about these companies? It's just they don't care how evil they look. They don't care how corrupt they are.
No, you're right. And from my experience in the oil field, I really believe this was a staged event. I mean, for the simple fact, they was on top of one of the biggest finds in the Gulf of Mexico in years. And then they're going to use substandard casing, substandard equipment to, to produce this well. I mean, it just don't make sense. They would have made all this money back. Why save money on the well when they'd have made all this money back once the well would have started flowing, say a month in or a month and a half? They would have made all their rig costs back, all the manpower, labor back, and all the equipment that they put down hole to produce this well. So to me, it makes no sense. Well,
I've been intending to do a special video report. I've done the research for it in the last week, but haven't produced it yet. A 15, 20-minute special report where I just go over all the evidence in one spot. But it's the quotes of Halliburton, of the other two companies running the rig in concert, going back a month before, and then 2 weeks before, arguments beginning and saying, this is on record before it happened. And this has now been in the Coast Guard hearings, that we told them it was going to blow up, that this never had been done before. I don't understand the fracking and cement and the mud, but they're supposed to pump this down to secure the shaft. In fact, maybe you should explain it to me. And that they said, no, we're going to dump seawater in to hold the pressure down before the well. And again, major newspapers, Reuters, Atlantic Monthly, have the quotes from the Coast Guard hearings, and I can't read this on air because of family reasons, But, you know, the quotes, I read some of it last week, minus the F-bombs and S-bombs. But the oil rig head and the ships that were there, so the head of the ships and that contingent, the supply ships and the head of the rig were on the phone to BP in front of all these witnesses saying, you fools, I told you this would blow up. It was 100%. There was no way to stop this. We told you. And so clearly, BP just told their employees, it'd be like if the government wanted to ban fireworks. And so they went to the biggest fireworks factory in the U.S. and said to one of their employees, I want you to go in there with a flamethrower and start shooting it at all the fireworks. And the guys followed the orders and walked in with a flamethrower and did it. And then now Obama says ban fireworks factories.